In this video today, I am going to use my Creality Ferret Pro scanner to scan this figurine so that it can be 3D printed. And so let's begin. All right, I have got Creality Scan 4 open. I'm going to select New Project. And we are going to have a normal object. I'd say it's medium size. The geometry or the tracking mode is going to be marker. We're going to do it high quality, and I am going to exclude the flat base. And then I will click preview. Now it's green, that's what we want to see, so I'm going to go ahead and click start. And then I'm going to slowly start turning the turntable that I have my object on. And you want to make sure that it stays green. You want most of your object to eventually become a green color. And as the turntable is rotating, I'm going to be lifting the scanner up and down to try and get different areas of the model scanned. And whenever it turns red, I'm going to try and back it up to where it last was green to try and get as complete a scan as I can. Okay, now what we will do is we will finish this scan, take a quick look at how it looks. Let's get rid of some of this extra stuff. I'm going to use these two tools down here, the lasso tool and the rectangle tool. I'm going to hold down the shift key and I'm going to just select those and then delete the selection. And this way I'm going to just kind of clean it up a bit. Okay, and then it's very important when you're finished with that to make sure you click this check mark to save your edit. Now what I'm going to do I'm going to do a new scan and we're going to preview. And I am going to lay the model on its side like this. And we're going to do a scan this way. So I'm going to start, and then I will slowly turn the turntable. And once again, I'm going to move the scanner around while the turntable is turning, and I'm going to try and keep everything green and scan as much as I can until I get as complete a scan as possible. Okay, and we'll go ahead and finish this one. And once again, I am going to do a quick cleanup of this. Okay, and that looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and save that edit. Now I'm going to do another scan. Let's preview it. And we'll put our camera up. And this time, I'm going to turn it this way. And we'll start. All right. And we will finish. And I'm going to take away the marker view and let's clean this up. Okay. And once again, don't forget to save. Okay. Now I'm going to select all three and we are going to fuse them. Okay. Now that they are all fused, we're going to come up here to mesh processing. We're going to come to alignment and we are going to align them. Okay, and then let's take a look at it. It looks pretty good. There are some small holes. As you can see, there's a little hole in the neck and under the body and a little in the base here. So how we'll take care of that is we'll exit out of here. We're going to come to meshing and small hole parameter. I'm going to change this to 100. Mesh smoothing, I'm going to put on low and apply. And then let's take a look at that. That looks good. It looks like it closed all those holes up. So that looks very good. So I'm going to export the mesh and we'll call this Little Boy Holding Dog. And we're going to save it as an STL. Okay. Okay, now I'm in Fusion 360. I'm going to click on the Mesh tab. We're going to come to Create, and we're going to insert a mesh. And we are going to insert the mesh that we just created in Creality Scan. Now, with the Insert Mesh box open, don't hit Enter at any time or you'll lose the Insert Mesh dialog box. But right now I'm going to center it, and I'm going to move it to the ground, and I'm going to come and look at the front view, just so that I can keep things straight. Now I'm going to want to position this, and so I'm going to rotate it. Just like that. Let's move it to ground again. And I want to look at it on the plane. Let's look at, we can look at it right. And I'm just going to keep rotating this until it looks relatively flat. And it looks like this needs to go a little bit that way, and that's too big. So if we hit the numerical inputs, let's maybe do a -1. And remember, don't hit enter, just type in the number. Let's try 1.5. Let's try -2. Yeah, -2 looks good. And then we'll look this way. So that looks pretty flat to the plane all the way around. And then I'm going to move to the ground again. So now we are on flat on the ground. And so I'm going to click OK. Now I want to make the base flat. And so I'm going to come up here to modify. And I'm going to do a plane cut. I'm going to select our body. And we want to select this bottom pane. So I'll select the bottom pane. And then I'm going to just pull the arrow up, which of course that is too far, although we could probably get away with this. I don't want it quite that far. I want a little more of a base for this boy. So maybe try 4, maybe 3. And you can see that will give us a flat base. And so I'll click OK. Let's go to Move, Copy. Let's hold this little boy. And let's get the front view again. And I want to bring it down to the plane. So that's a little bit too much. Let's see if -4, that's a little bit too much. -3. Okay, that looks like that's flat on the plane, or pretty close. So I'll click OK. Now you'll notice that we have a little error message here. And that's because when we cut on the plane, that put a hole in the bottom. And so we're going to need to close off that hole. So click on the little icon here. We want to make sure that our item is selected. The repair type is we're going to close holes. And then just click OK. And so that has closed off the bottom and removed the error message from here. Now we can probably just export this right now, especially with Bambu Studio. Even though this item is hollow, Bambu Studio is going to recognize it as being solid, and so it's going to put infill on the inside. And to show you what I mean, we're going to come up to here to Inspect and Section Analysis, and we're going to select this bottom pane. And as we come up, you can see we're hollow. And as I said, with Bambu Studio, we could go ahead and export this right now as is. We could come up here to File and Export, and then we could export this as an STL file. And in fact, let's export it. Little boy with dog. And even though this is hollow, I will show you in Bambu Studio we can import what we just saved from Fusion 360. And when we select it, now this floating regions is because you really need to slice this with quartz. I'm doing this to show you that it is putting infill. It's not going to print it as hollow. And so at this point, especially if you have a Bambu Lab printer, I'm not sure about other slicers, but with Bambu Lab, you can use this as is and just turn on supports and slice it. And you're good to go. We can change this to line type so that you can see where it's going to be putting supports. But in the event, if for some reason your slicer is trying to slice this as a hollow object, we can make this a solid object. To do that, we're going to come to Modify and Convert Mesh. It's going to be parametric and faceted. We're going to select our item and we're going to click OK. Now, you may think it's not doing anything, but it is. You're just going to need to be patient. You may click the OK again to see that it is really doing something, but just be patient and wait until it's finished. Okay, when it turns black, it is finished. And to show you, we can inspect and we can do a section analysis. And once again, we want to select this bottom pane. And now as it comes up, you can see it's filled. And so that's how you can fill it. And so we will come out here to File, and we shall export, and we'll call this Little Boy Holding Dog Fusion 360 Filled, and export. And so now we're ready to set it up in Bambu Studio. Okay, now I have Bambu Studio open. The device I'm going to use is an A1 Mini, and I have got some generic silk PLA. And here I'm going to switch to my A1 Mini, and I will synchronize the filament, and we will import the file we just made. And that is right here. Now to save on filament, I'm going to print it out a little smaller, so maybe at about 60%. Or maybe 70% size. And I'm going to enable supports, and I'm using the 0.2 millimeter standard protocol, or 0.2 layer height. So that profile. And this is what it's going to look like. And so let's send it to the printer. And When it's finished, we'll be back. And this is going to take about 24 grams, or actually about 31 grams total filament. And it's going to take about 2 hours to complete. And here's the finished piece, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye!